Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this quick guide showing you how you can complete the time trials between June 10th and June 16th. Starting off with the RC time trial, as always, you're gonna need the RC video for this one in order to be able to do it, so if you find it worth the money to get yourself $100,000 every week, then definitely go and do so. Time trial itself this week, not too difficult, though you should keep a few things in mind because the RC video is very light and the roads we're going to be using is a little bit on the tight side. The parking lot we just passed, don't worry too much about missing the checkpoints as they're quite generous with how widespread they actually are. In terms of the rest of the time trial, another bit of a problem area is this one, where there's a little hill which you definitely want to slow down for, maybe even using your brakes if you feel the need of doing so. After that, heading down the hill, keep your speed in check to make sure you don't start spinning out, because that's what the RCPD likes to do. Another hill up here, make sure to once again not go too fast, and then just follow the path that I'm taking, and it should be totally fine. Do avoid crashing into that little bush there, because that's not really entirely the plan. Of course, 10 seconds to spare as per usual, so don't worry too much about taking your time with this one. Moving on to the regular time trial. For this one, I'm probably gonna have to repeat the gameplay a few times because it's only 46 seconds, and while the time trial itself isn't too difficult, you might have a little bit of luck needed on your side. The strategy for this one is gonna be particularly simple. While the route itself is pretty good, you're gonna have to get a little bit lucky at times because of the way that the Baddie 801 that we're using could potentially land, and you need enough speed and that sort of stuff. So the way to get your optimal speed going on at all times is making sure that when you go uphill that you do wheelies. Now you want to make sure that you don't go too fast, of course, as well, because if you do, you might start overshooting jumps and that sort of stuff. So keep that in mind as you're doing this. Particularly at the very last bit, you might even want to slow down as you take the very last jump, because if you go too fast, you will overshoot a checkpoint, and well, that is a little awkward, don't you think? One of the key sections that I want to point out is this bit right here where I take the jump over the gap. If you are going too slow and you fall in the gap, your time trial is effectively ruined because you'll lose all the speed and momentum that you had. After that, it's basically just following the path that I'm doing, and then when you're slowing down for the last jump, you should land in the checkpoint neatly and nicely. Like I mentioned before, it really just comes down to doing those wheelies when you go uphill, but still keep your speed in check that you don't overshoot it, as well as not falling off the mountain. It's a delicate balance, you kind of have to get a feel for it, and it's a little difficult to explain for me inside of a video. So if you need to, have another watch at the gameplay, have another watch at the video, and kind of get an idea for it. One last tip that I can give you: if you're on base consoles and you're having trouble with this, try to do this in an invite only session. The reason being is because you'll have a better frame rate, and frame rate is directly tied to your speed inside of GTA Online. I know this sounds super weird, but it's true. The more players you have, the worse your frame rate will become, the slower your car will become. Obviously, if you're on next-gen consoles, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, then you shouldn't have an issue with this, considering the fact that those systems actually do know how to handle 30 FPS. Another good shout would be to use a Shitoro, which is arguably a much better option than the Baddie 801, or potentially even something like a BF400 if you're looking for something a little bit more off-road. Those are two very strong options too. Using anything else on a bike, I would consider you a trooper, and my hat would go off to you. If you manage to do it with a car, let me know in the comments below, and I'll give you an applause or something, I don't know. Regardless, with all that said and all that done, thank you so very much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, and if you really like what you see on the channel, consider becoming a member, like Chloe, Robert, Alus Fire, Captain Price, Shakulu, and Dr. Strangelove. Join them and all the other fellow members by clicking the join button down below. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all later.